All right, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Today is January 9th, 2025, and this is the meeting of the Sentencing Guidelines Commission. I will ask Director Nate Wrights to take the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Roll call. Vice Chair Larkin. Larkin absent. Commissioner Fraze. Commissioner Fraze, I see your lips moving. I don't hear you.
Here.
Commissioner Fraze present. Commissioner Keith. Commissioner Keith. Let me just check one thing. Commissioner Keith absent. Commissioner Knudsen.
Present.
Commissioner Knudsen present. Commissioner Ladd.
Present.
Commissioner Ladd present. Commissioner Middlebrook.
Present.
Commissioner Middlebrook present. Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Moore present. Commissioner Morin. Commissioner Morin absent. Commissioner Mueller. Commissioner Mueller absent. Commissioner Reeves.
Present.
Commissioner Reeves present. Commissioner Saxena.
Present.
Commissioner Saxena present. Chair Mitchell.
Present.
Chair Mitchell present. Madam Chair, there are 8 members present, 4 members absent, and I will say with respect to some of those members, there's something going around apparently, and also there was a work conflict. So.
All right, but we do have enough for a quorum, so that's good.
Well, Madam Chair, I typically say on the record there's 1 seat vacant, so I should have said that. Thank you.
Correct. All right, so first item on the agenda is adoption of the draft meeting agenda. I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Commissioner Reeves makes that motion and Commissioner Middlebrook seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote.
To the Reeves motion to adopt the agenda, Larkin. Larkin absent. Fraze.
Yes.
Fraze, yes. Keith. Keith absent. Knudsen.
Yes.
Knudsen, yes. Ladd.
Yes.
Ladd, yes. Middlebrook.
Yes.
Middlebrook, yes. Moore.
Yes.
Moore, yes. Morin. Morin absent. Mueller. Mueller absent. Reeves.
Yes.
Reeves, yes. Saxena.
Yes.
Saxena, yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mitchell, yes. Madam Chair, there are 8 votes in favor, no votes opposed.
With that, the agenda is approved, the motion is approved unanimously. Next item is approval of the draft meeting minutes from December 19th, 2024. I know I had a couple corrections.
Yes, Madam Chair, there are actually 4 corrections to note. On, I think they're all on page 2 or page 3. So on page 2, agenda item number 3, under the motion, Commissioner Knudsen's name is misspelled. Correct that to a T instead of a D. Also on page 2, it's section 4, 3rd paragraph. And this is again repeated on page 3 in the 2nd full paragraph, where it says co-chair, that should read vice chair. So that's a mistake. And then page 3, last sentence in the 1st paragraph should say work rather than works. So those corrections should all be made, and thank you for your diligence in reading the minutes and pointing those corrections out to me.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes with those corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Knudsen moves, Commissioner Ladd seconds. Any discussion or further corrections anyone wants to make? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
To the Knudsen motion to approve the December 19th meeting minutes as corrected, Larkin. Larkin absent. Fraze.
Yes.
Fraze, yes. Keith. Keith absent. Knudsen.
Yes.
Knudsen, yes. Ladd.
Yes.
Ladd, yes. Middlebrook.
Yes.
Middlebrook, yes. Moore.
Yes.
Moore, yes. Morin. Morin absent. Mueller. Mueller absent. Reeves.
Yes.
Reeves, yes. Saxena.
Yes.
Saxena, yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mitchell, yes. Madam Chair, there are 8 votes in favor, no votes opposed.
And with that, the motion is approved unanimously. All right. We'll move on to item 4 on the agenda is approval of the 2025 reports to the legislature. This is the whole reason we're here today and needed a quorum. So thank you everyone for being able to make it. And I will turn it over to staff to walk us through the discussion for final approval of our report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a carryover from last month's meeting. I'm not going to go over the entire report because we did that last month. So what I'm going to do is go over the highlighted sections, which are places where we made changes since last month. And most of those changes I don't think will be too surprising to you because in many cases you suggested the changes. So I'm sorry? Speak up, thank you. So in the introduction, we did update the data. So this is our chart where we compare Minnesota's imprisonment rate to all state imprisonment rate. And when we spoke to you last, the Bureau of Justice Statistics had not published the year-end prisoner data for December 31st, 2023, which is the basis for this chart and the narrative that surrounds it. The Bureau of Justice Statistics, or BJS, it still hasn't published their final prisoner report, but they did publish some preliminary data. We did some estimates on the rate, the imprisonment rate based on census data, the census data that was accessible to us, a little bit different from the census data that's accessible to them, but I think we came up with a pretty close estimate of what their imprisonment rates are going to be. So the notable statistics here are that Minnesota has still has the 7th lowest imprisonment rate in the nation. As we discussed earlier, for most of the time, the guidelines have been in effect. They were Minnesota's been in the bottom 3, but since 2013, it's risen, and 22 and 23 are the highest it's been, or at 7th lowest. So that's pretty much it for that. Let's see. The other changes were pretty minor. We did change some of the MAD feedback sections. Neither Hennepin nor Ramsey County, we moved that sentence and indicated that, while they were invited, there were no participants in those sections. So I think that does explain it. We have been in contact with MAD about continuing engagement efforts for Hennepin and Ramsey County. Commissioner Reeves has been helpful in that regard, and so there are additional engagement efforts that are being planned, and those are pretty freshly in the works, but those are being planned. There was a duplicate paragraph that was deleted. The only other real changes were in the 6911 reports. Well, there was a minor change to footnote 30, nothing too significant. The 6911 reports, we did get some additional county information. I don't know that I have the final county count, but it is, let's see, we're still missing Murray, Winona, Wabasha, and Grant. So that's really good news from a reduction in outstanding reports. I will say, that's tough luck with Winona because it's a more significant county population and could actually skew the data a little bit. But I will also say that we're going to keep this open until the 14th. So we are going to post. We're probably not going to change the Sankey diagram visually after the morning of the 14th. So it'd be ideal to get it done the 13th. But if we get additional numbers, even toward the end of the day on the 14th, that's a 3:30, somewhere around there, we will add them to the report. So, so that would be ideal to get those in. But I do appreciate the work of Judge Small, the executive director of the County Attorneys Association, and Kyra Ladd, our own county attorney representative on this commission, for beating the bushes and getting those outstanding reports in. I think it's helpful to have. It's helpful to the legislature, and it's also helpful for year-over-year statistics. They really don't mean much if we don't have complete data. Madam Chair, because of the anticipation of additional reports and the infinitesimally small possibility that we will catch additional typographical errors, I would ask that the commission's motion be to approve the near final draft of the report as written, with leave for staff to make additional non-substantive changes to correct typographical errors and to include additional data from the county attorneys that have not supplied data yet.
I would entertain that motion. Just so we don't lose that wording, I would look for someone to make that motion now, and then we can have any further discussion.
So move.
Commissioner Moore.
Director Rice.
Commissioner Moore makes the motion. Commissioner Reeves, did you second? I thought you did. So Commissioner Reeves seconds. All right, now discussion. Any questions anyone has? Any discussion or anything that anyone needs to talk about here? Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Wright, I'm appreciative of the efforts to reach out to Henry. That's with the Commissioner Reeves here too. I think that's worthwhile. Hopefully it'll actually bear some fruit too.
And I just to follow up on that, if I may, Madam Chair, Matt is concerned about, oversampling now, right? They don't want to give too much of an emphasis on Hennepin and Ramsey County. In fact, they took great pains to make sure that their efforts were, getting underrepresented groups and making sure they covered, jurisdictions in greater Minnesota, for example, and other jurisdictions that might not have the same representation. But they were surprised that they didn't get, they got such limited results from Hennepin and Ramsey. They were actually concerned about the other thing. That they would get too much, that they would be overrepresented. But I do think, given their size, that it is important to have better representation than we have. So, as I put it, I think they picked the high-hanging fruit and missed some of the low-hanging fruit for whatever reason. So, they're definitely working on that. And thank you for that suggestion last meeting, Commissioner.
All right, any questions about the report or any of the contents? Or are people feeling comfortable with it and ready to vote? Wow, this is gonna be like a record-really short meeting, I think. So, okay, I think we can go ahead and vote. When you're ready.
So to the Moore motion to approve the report to the legislature as submitted to the commission in your final draft form, with leave for staff to make non-substantive corrections and data additions from county attorneys. Larkin? Larkin absent. Fraze?
Yes.
Fraze, yes. Keefe? Keefe absent. Knutson?
Yes.
Knutson, yes. Ladd?
Yes.
Ladd, yes. Middlebrook?
Yes.
Middlebrook, yes. Moore?
Yes.
Moore, yes. Moran? Moran absent. Mueller? Mueller absent. Reeves?
Yes.
Reeves, yes. Saxena?
Yes.
Saxena, yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mitchell, yes. Madam Chair, there are 8 votes in favor, no votes opposed.
All right, with that, the report is approved unanimously. All right. So then we will move on to item number 5, which is comprehensive review steering committee update and guidance. So we did have the first meeting of the steering committee this afternoon. And Kyra is going to take the lead on giving our update, and then other folks can jump in after that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I think it was a good kickoff to our project here that we're trying to undertake. And I think the goal for this first meeting was to try to get this narrowed down into some buckets so that we could tackle it into some usable information to bring back to the full commission for discussion and consideration. One of the things that we did, and I guess I'll follow my sword on this and say I was voluntold, to take on the project of looking at the rankings to try to address the ranking issues that have been identified as issues associated with departure rates, from a practitioner perspective, some things that we're seeing in practice that don't make sense. And so I took on that project, and I will just say that as a part of that project, it kind of took on a life of its own. And what I found, hopefully I'll be a better practitioner and a better commissioner based on going through the guidelines like I did in the statutes. There's so much interconnectivity with these offenses, and some of them fall organically in same buckets. And if you change one, it has an effect to change 2 or 3 others that are similarly connected. And then when you change those, it has some change effect over here. You're looking at it. I think one of the things we took away from today's meeting was we can't do it all. It's a pretty big task if we were to go through and look at every single offense and how it's ranked and whether or not it needs to be changed. We don't have the bandwidth right now to do that. We want to do that, and it's probably going to be necessary in conjunction with some other stuff that we're going to be, working on as a whole. So what we tried to do was then narrow down sort of, top 10 for each one of us on the steering committee to say, okay, what are things that we can look at and start working on and have Nate's staff work on to bring back to the full commission. And so that's what we did today, and I thought it was pretty productive. And the interesting thing was all the people on the steering committee, I think, had a lot of similar thoughts on it. And there's a lot of overlap, but it's a really tall task. And I do want to say this, and I'm going to take this opportunity, and you'll probably hear me say it again, is that when we talk about a comprehensive review of the guidelines, I want to make clear that we're not taking on all of the rankings right now. And so I don't want the public to think that we're looking at everything and we're going to be one and done. Future commissions, the legislature, we're tackling a big chunk of it right now, but there's a lot more work to be done. And so when we talk about comprehensive review, we're doing it in sort of, I don't say piecemeal, but we really have to sort of break it down. And that was, I think, the intention of the steering committee. And so I appreciate sort of the opportunity to do that. Although, as I said, it was a lot of work kind of just getting into and looking at that. But so that's where we left it. And I think we came away with an action plan for next meeting. And so I guess I would just defer back to either Nate or the chair to sort of indicate what our next steps are going to be as it relates to the full commission. But that's kind of what we did today at today's meeting.
That's an excellent summary. Did anyone have anything to add before? So we thought, Nate actually created a slide to put up the offenses that we sort of narrowed in on today. So we thought we would share them with the commission so that, so that you could take a look at them and then start to, like, if there's something that's glaringly missing, now would be a really good time to tell us, because at our next meeting, we're going to sort of take these, put them into buckets, although there's some buckets already here. We're going to talk about what information does the commission need to make some decisions about this, and what order should we work through them. So that's going to be our sort of work plan for our next steering committee meeting. And I can't see like that one little corner.
That's the motor vehicle.
Oh, okay. So anyway, so I'll just talk through them because sometimes that's easier than maybe your screen is little. But we have failure to register as a predatory offender. We actually talked about maybe potential, is it on the right grid? Should it be moved? What can we say about this? We want to get more information about the high departure rates there. Fleeing a peace officer in a motor vehicle. There's several different offenses there. So we were talking about looking at all of those. DWI, criminal vehicular homicide, criminal vehicular operation. Those are similar behavior that has different outcomes, right? And so we want to talk, we're thinking the commission should really look at those. Domestic assaults offenses, the interrelationship between those and DANCOs or OFPs. So those are protection order type offenses. And then there's several issues within all assault offenses, like assault in second degree is one of those high departure rate offenses. So we're thinking we look at all assaults, theft of a motor vehicle. And then I want you to explain the death offenses because that just looks awful on the screen. But
So it's sort of the flip side of this same behavior resulting in different levels of harm. This different behaviors resulting in the same level of harm. different behaviors that all result in death. And two of those are on the screen, the driving drunk and fleeing a peace officer in the motor vehicle have specific penalty provisions and rankings when somebody dies as a result.
So basically, do we have proportionality in the way that we have ranked offenses that result in death? That's the issue there. So any feedback or additional conversation or things that might be missing? Oh, aggravated robbery is not on there. That should be on there.
In my defense, I didn't have that much time.
Yeah, no, actually, Nate put this slide in like less than 5 minutes, so it's actually impressive that we have the slide at all. It's amazing.
And also, we also talked about the felon in possession of firearm, that particular one.
Correct, that's right. Oh, now he's updating his.
You don't have to update your bubbles necessarily, but you just did ask for some either updates or for other commission members to sort of weigh in on some topics that are sort of stand out, jump out sort of offenses for us to put in that as we continue to work on this.
Oh, and I should have said that, I forgot, I meant to go back to the bubble that said drug offenses, because we had a couple of conversations around that, and I'd actually really be interested in other commission member input here if you have any today. We talked about the differences between sale and possession and whether that should be recognized. What else, like, now I'm forgetting, we had like a range of discussion around drug offenses, maybe maybe
Second degree.
do you want to say it?
We talked a little bit about second degree possessions. Kind of in the same context of breaking out sale versus possession.
Whether we should sort of revisit that conversation or, what other, the drug offenses have been dealt with more recently. So, we may or may not want to put it on the table to take a second look at that. But that's something that we plan to talk about a little bit more at our next meeting. So if there's any issues there that come to mind for other commission members related to drug offenses, like it would be great to hear any input that you have that we should take into consideration. I should also emphasize the steering committee is basically developing the outline for the areas that where we think the commission should take a second look at rankings. But we're not going to come back to the commission with recommendations for rankings. We're just identifying the universe of cases that staff then should develop an exercise for the commission to review. So I just want to make that very clear that we're not going to decide those issues. He's updated his his bubbles. Any reactions or input that the rest of the commission members like to give today?
Everyone's in agreement.
Even it seems like you hit the right stuff would be great. I don't know, I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Well, so I think that's the update for today. That takes us to Executive Director's report.
All right, Madam Chair, I do have a few items for today's Executive Director's report. The first and probably most important is, as a commission member, you are considered a public official, so your annual certification of your statement of economic interest is due to the Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board in less than 3 weeks by Monday, January 27th. Hopefully y'all got an email on that, but if not, and unfortunately Commissioner Keefe's not here, but because she probably didn't get an email, but But go to cfb.mn.gov and click on, in the lower left corner, and you'll see a link that says sign in to reporting applications. So that's something that needs to be done. The second is that the 94th Minnesota Legislature is scheduled to convene next Tuesday. Due to some outstanding special elections in the House and the Senate, I'm expecting a delayed start time to permanent organization of the legislature. This seems likely to effectively shorten the time the legislature has to get its work done, which will be a challenge because the legislature must pass a 2-year budget this year in order for the government to be able to continue operating after June. So there may be some policy changes also. Governor Walz recently proposed creating a new theft of public funds statute that increases criminal penalties by 20% compared to the existing theft statute. So some obvious guidelines, ranking implications there. June's special session is foreseeable. I did hear a legislative leader saying that he's not making any vacation plans for June. And I mean, that makes sense to me, given the fact that the legislative session, you know, it's quite conceivable. They won't really get much done in January. So it'll be a much shorter session than normal. That, as we know, will be a challenge for us, given the 6-week delay in our administrative rules, that the administrative rules impose on us in order to make changes to the sentencing guidelines. Last time this happened, we had to ask the legislature to delay the effective date of the legislation, which they did. Speaking of our administrative rules, the process to streamline our administrative rules has stalled out since the last meeting. Because, so I literally saw one word that I did not like in the reviser's draft. So it was submitted versus reported, and I thought reported was the wrong word. So I asked them to make a change. They made a change. I recently got it. So we should be resuming the rulemaking process soon. Finally, I'm pleased to report that the governor's office is making progress on vetting the candidates to fill the seat made vacant by the untimely death of Christopher Crutchfield. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a decision before the February meeting. So that would be nice. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Any questions from anyone? Nope. All right, we can move to public input. I think we're at the end.
All right. Members of the public online, if you would like to make a comment at this time, looks like you're all on by computer. So please raise your hand on the WebEx app that you're joining the meeting on. There should be a button at the bottom with a hand symbol or some other indication that you can raise your hand. And if you do that, I will unmute you and you'll be able to speak. So now would be a good time to do that. I'm sure I'm not seeing any of the members of the public listening in raising their hand.
I am not seeing that either. All right. Well, I think that actually brings us to the end of our meeting today. Now, don't get any ideas that February is going to be short, because it's not going to be. We have more. We really reserved this one to approve the report, because you never know what happens. You got to make sure that's like the one statutory duty we have. So we had to make sure we got it done today. So that's why today was a shorter meeting, because you guys did your review and it didn't take much time. That's it. I think with that, unless there's any objections, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.